This is a bit of a new direction to football productions. I'm kind of taking this channel as a way to kind of express my hobby. I'm very much a lover of football. So I thought rather than just doing compilations and going that way, I thought it might be better just to actually talk football. So yeah, that's what we're going to do today. So there's a couple of games over the weekend. FA Cup, La Liga, Serie A, and a bunch more around the world, I'm sure. But this channel is mainly going to be focused on the games in the English league or in the English football calendar. And then, when there's huge games or if there's a title race that is intriguing, or whatever happens, if there's certain players that are catching the eye in some of the other leagues like Bundesliga, League One, La Liga, Serie A, then we're going to take a look at those ones as well. So yeah, I hope you like it. If you do, please like and subscribe. It does help the channel out a lot. And yeah, this is my first face, the first time my face is appearing on a YouTube video, which is daunting. All right. So first we are going to look at the FA Cup. So FA Cup is one of the, most loved competitions in England. It's got, I suppose you could say, a bit of a bad rap, I guess you could say. Not a bad rap, but it's just it seems that clubs and fans just seem to value like top four rather than a trophy. Now I am a Man United fan. You'll be disappointed or glad to hear. And I'd love to win a trophy. It's been 5 years, going on 6, I think, this year, if we don't win anything. So I would love to win a trophy. And I think for clubs like, Newcastle, for example, and we'll get onto them a bit later, this would have been a great opportunity for them. For the likes of kind of your mid-table clubs, you go on an FA Cup run, that chance to go down to Wembley and just have a great time. It's a big deal for a lot of clubs. I think the bigger clubs and their fan bases are spoiled almost at this stage. With just so much money being pumped into their clubs, they think every club at the top end thinks that they have a chance of winning the title or demand to win the title. It's just not the case. That's not the reality of the situation. So we're going to speak about the FA Cup. So first game of the third round, I guess you could say, because there's been 2 other rounds, and actually many more when you look at the complete run of fixtures. But the first game was Man United versus Everton. Now, Man United have been on a great run of form recently, but you could say, it's not been against the greatest of opposition, especially like since you come back from the World Cup. The opposition hasn't been of a high quality. However, as a Man United fan, I've seen the last couple of years have been filled with pain. So these are the kind of games that we would always drop points in. Obviously, this is a cup game, but we haven't. Even though we've done relatively well in some cup competitions, especially this year under Erik ten Hag. He's made a huge difference. I'm fully behind that manager. In the FA Cup, came up against Everton. They took points away from a very, I guess you could say, exciting City team. I personally feel like they're not as good as last year or previous years. But obviously with Haaland, they're so dangerous. Took points against them, but then the next game, I believe it was the next game, could have been the game before that, they lost like 4-1 to Brighton and had a horrendous performance. So I was hoping for a win, obviously, as a fan, but you never really know. And look, at the start of the game, couldn't have gone any better. Rashford is absolutely on fire at the moment. I saw quotes from Lampard saying, he was literally the difference in this game. But I think 3 minutes in, Antony scores. Good play by Martial to pick out Rashford. Rashford crossed it in. Well, yeah, it was definitely a cross. He definitely meant to kind of play it across goal. And Antony was there for a tap. And Antony, out of all of the Erik ten Hag signings, Antony has been the least impressive. I think you could say, and for the most money, like he needs to come good. But yeah, so it looked, it was a great start. Then an absolute howler from De Gea. I don't know what he was doing. Some of the quotes from the likes of Roy Keane saying that he looked like he was playing drunk was quite funny. Shout out Roy Keane. I'm a huge fan. So yeah, so Everton get a tap in after a clanger from De Gea. kind of looked a bit nervous. Like, United haven't been as, in this game, they were not as, like, they didn't seem as defensively solid as previous games. So it was a bit, Ten Hag has called a couple of games recently like a tennis match, and it definitely had that vibe to it. It was end to end. But in the second half, again, United started really quickly in the second half, got a goal through unreal play from Rashford on the left, and Cody scored twice into the same goal with an own goal, and then finished it up with a penalty at the end. So it was a good win for United into the next round, and literally that's all that matters into the FA Cup. So that was Friday night. On Saturday, of course, there was a huge amount of fixtures. I'm not going to speak about everyone because otherwise this video will be a 30-minute video. But I'm just going to have the kind of results on the screen here. So Southampton beat Premier League opposition Palace, which was, good for them. Leicester got through a tough challenge away to Gillingham. Reading beating Watford. Spurs beating Portsmouth. They've been on a relatively poor run of form, although they did win. It was a 4-0 recently. Harry Kane getting a good goal in that. Burnley beating Bournemouth, so I think Burnley are top of the championship table, and Bournemouth obviously being Premier League opposition, but they're having a tough time in the Premier League, so it's a good win for Burnley. Burnley seem to be doing really well under Vincent Kompany. Got to give him props. He seems to be doing a great job for them. It seems to be a solid appointment and it was a good move for him, I think, after Sean Dyche. I'm a fan of Sean Dyche. I love his voice. He's a gas man. But no, Kompany seems to be doing really well at Burnley. Blackpool destroying Nottingham Forest. Let me just check. Was it a strong Nottingham Forest team? Let's find out, shall we? No, I wouldn't say it's the strongest. No, it definitely wasn't the strongest Nottingham Forest team. It seems like they are fully focused on staying in the Premier League, and I think that's clear just from their selection, to be honest. Boreham Wood, Accrington Stanley finishing in a draw. Chesterfield West Brom finishing in an entertaining draw there, 3-3. Fleetwood Town beating QPR. QPR started the championship pretty well, but recently they have fallen off hugely. So not a great time to be being knocked out so early in the FA Cup for QPR. But look, I can't say that I follow QPR a whole pile, so I'm sure that it's not the first time they've been knocked out in the third round of the FA Cup. Fulham beating Hull 2-0. Ipswich beating Rotherham 4-1. Middlesbrough getting beat by Brighton 5-1. Brighton seem to be putting up some good results. Like, they seem to have recovered from losing Graham Potter, still seem to be scoring goals, and they've always been good at that. And Middlesbrough have been in decent form under Michael Carrick. So that was, I'm not sure again regarding the lineups, was Carrick kind of focusing on the championship? They're doing relatively well in the championship. They're in those playoff places, or were Brighton just, they were seemingly just too strong, which is good for Brighton. Brighton are they're a dark horse. They play well. Whenever they seem to come up against the big teams, except for United, they seem to struggle. But against kind of their like mid-table competitors or lower down in the table, they seem to really do well. Millwall versus Sheffield United getting a 2-0 win there. Sunderland continuing a good trajectory, beating Shrewsbury Town 2-1. I have my eye, of course, on Amad Diallo over there. He got an assist, I believe, for the first goal in this game. He's been on absolute fire this season for Sunderland fans. Speaking to one Sunderland fan in particular, he seems to love him. He calls him a god. I'm not sure if Diallo can make the step up to United, but maybe the Sunderland board want to fork out a few million to keep him. I'm not sure if his ambition is to stay in the northeast, though. We'll soon see. West Ham beating Brentford 1-0, which is a good result. Again, I'm not sure were both teams like putting out their strongest lineups. Let's take a quick look. I mean, West Ham, they had a good team out. They did Declan Rice, Suchek, Paqueta, Antonio, Jared Bowen. Brentford, yeah, they had a strong team out as well. So yeah, it looks like, I don't think Brentford had their full team out, but they were relatively strong. So that was a good win for West Ham for sure. And they've been fighting, like, they've had some poor results this year. They're fighting at the bottom of the table after some European competition. They're still in the European Conference League, so I'm sure this will be a big boost for them. My favorite game of the day, didn't watch it, but I just loved the result and the story, is Coventry City versus Wrexham 4-3. Just what a game. Wrexham were they were dominant really throughout the game. When you think that they went 2-0 up, Coventry pulled it back to 2-1. and they went 3-1 up, 4-1 up, and then Coventry pulled back with about 20 minutes to go to 4-3. But Wrexham held out, so they're into the fourth round, which is just amazing. That's what the FA Cup is all about. So fair play. I'll be keeping an eye out on them. Moving towards the end of the day, Grimsby beat Burton 1-0. Luton drew with Wigan Athletic 1-1. The shock of the day, I think it's fair to say, is Sheffield Wednesday beating Newcastle United. That was a huge shock because Newcastle put out a strong team, and with the form they've been on, they're third in the Premier League right now, best defence in the league. And they got beat. And, Sheffield Wednesday went 2-0 up. Good goals, you could say. Poor from a Newcastle standpoint. They pulled one back kind of halfway through the second half. But, couldn't break them down any further than that, and they get knocked out. And like I said earlier in the video, I thought this would have been a great opportunity for Newcastle to get a trophy. Because, obviously, with the Saudi money, the PIF coming in, they are going to spend money. They already have spent some money. Not as much as some would think, really. If you think about it, we saw how Manchester City spent once they got their investment. Newcastle haven't done that. They've spent good in some areas. Some signings look inspirational. The likes of Bruno Guimaraes, Sven Botman looks like an amazing signing. Nick Pope as well. Really, really good keeper. And they've been unfortunate with some. 20 million on Chris Wood is hilarious to me. That just shouldn't have happened. But then they've been unlucky with Isaac, and I'm pretty sure he started this game. This is one of his first games back from injury. So it'll be, I think Eddie Howe will be very disappointed, and I'm sure Newcastle fans are as well with that result. And then the final game of Saturday was Liverpool versus Wolves. A hilarious mistake from Alisson, just gifting it to Gonzalo Guedes. I hope I'm not butchering that name. So just a hilarious mistake, and Alisson is prone to that. He's an amazing keeper, but he's definitely prone to those kind of mistakes. Trent putting in a great cross, in fairness to Núñez, who actually scored. I say actually scored. He has scored some goals this season, and it was a good finish, in fairness. But he just misses so many chances. But yeah, it was a good goal. Salah, again, putting Liverpool 2-1 up in that game. Good finish. It was a nice pass. Can't quite remember who played the pass. And I hit the Wolves defender, tried to clear it, went backwards instead, where Salah was just lurking. Nice touch and calm finish. You know what you're going to get from Salah at this stage. But then Wolves scored again. Liverpool are just so leaky this year. It's very unlike them if you've watched them for the last 5-6 years, where actually not 5-6 years, basically since they've got Alisson and Van Dijk, they've been a lot more mean in defence, but they're just not the same this year. You could say injuries, but it doesn't seem to be like that. Even with Van Dijk there this year, they haven't been he's just not been that good this year. That's just the honest truth. So yeah, that's another game as well in the calendar for Liverpool, which I'm sure Klopp doesn't want. This football calendar is just all types of messed up because of the World Cup and how the Euros fell last year, and it's just such a condensed calendar, and they're still trying to finish it in May. It's just going to be really difficult to throw in the replays in there as well. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Today in the FA Cup, you have some great games. The key one obviously is going to be Manchester City versus Chelsea. City obviously beat Chelsea in the league 1-0, and thanks to Mahrez earlier in the week, on Thursday I believe it was. Chelsea have been poor. They have had a shocking season. When you play Havertz up front, what do you expect? This is maybe controversial, maybe a weird thing to say, but his career trajectory was just like this. It was going up, and he was such a highly rated prospect in Bundesliga. Going to Chelsea, he just seems to have found himself as a striker. And the obvious one that you're going to point out is, he won the Champions League for Chelsea, and yeah, that's a great achievement. But if you look at his career as a whole at Chelsea, it just hasn't been impressive. At Leverkusen, he either played on the right or the left, or as a 10, as an attacking midfielder just behind the striker, and he hasn't really done that at Chelsea. Because they don't seem to have, well, in fairness, not for the lack of trying. They've had Werner, they've had Lukaku, now they have Aubameyang, but none of those three strikers have really worked out. And Havertz hasn't, and this goes for Mason Mount as well, but Mason Mount's a bit more productive in terms of assists or goals. Havertz just seems to to not be that guy, which is unfortunate. So it'll be interesting to see if Potter can do something with him or not. Obviously, I wouldn't expect Sterling to play in this since he got injured, as many Chelsea players are injured right now. It'll be interesting to see if City still play their strongest team. City, and especially Pep, have demonstrated, they are well able to rotate their squad to compete in every competition that they have or that they are participating in. So, it's still going to be a strong City lineup no matter if it's their first team or not, because obviously their squad is just ridiculous. So yeah, that'll round out all the games for the FA Cup third round. It'll be interesting. I think the draw is going to be made later today, so hopefully United can get an easy draw. The easier draws, the better. So thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, I'd appreciate it. It'll be great. I've said that again. You're going to come across a lot of you can make, there it is again. I'm just not used to making these. You could make it a game though. How about you count how many there was and let me know in the comments how many. There it is again. Peace. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, hit the notifications, please, and leave a comment down below on if you like the video, if you like the new direction, and what I can do better, because I can definitely do stuff better, but I'm still learning. Appreciate it. Peace.